Hello again, everybody, and welcome to From the Rafters of Rupp, the Kentucky Legends Edition. I'm Kyle Macy. This season, Season 5, we continue to highlight the all-time great players who've helped establish the University of Kentucky's unparalleled college tradition. UK has honored these prominent legends with their ceremonial hanging of their jerseys in the Rafters of Rupp Arena. This season, we're focusing on 5 former players who we believe are prime candidates to have their jersey raised to the Rafters of Rupp in the near future. So sit back, relax, and enjoy as we bring you another edition of From the Rafters of Rupp, the Kentucky Legends Edition. In today's edition, I sit down and talk with Mike Pratt. At 6'3", Mike was a 3-year starter at the forward position for the Cats and scored 1,359 points during his career at Kentucky. Coach Adolph Rupp said of Pratt, "He's one of the strongest kids I've ever seen play the game of basketball." Mike was a hard-nosed player who could make shots on the perimeter, as well as rebound and score points in the paint. We actually began our conversation discussing the time frame in which Mike attended high school. Mike takes us back to the turbulent days of 1960s.
It was. I had some football teammates that went to Vietnam and never came back. My high school was graduated in 66. It was blue-collar high school. Where I grew up, the other side of the high school was the money side. Those people went to college more than my side. My side went to the factories in Dayton or went to Vietnam or the Army and then Vietnam. But yeah, it was a very difficult time.
Mike Pratt was a 4-year starter at Meadowdale High School in Dayton, Ohio. And by the time he graduated, Pratt had set the Dayton area high school scoring record for most points scored during a prep career with 1,396. By the spring of 1966, Mike Pratt was one of the most sought-after college prospects in the country.
Well, I grew up wanting to be a Dayton Flyer. I grew up following that team, and the University of Cincinnati were my 2 teams. Ohio State was very good. I mean, that Lucas, Havlicek, Siegfried team was terrific. But I visited Indiana, visited Michigan, of course, visited Ohio State. I flew to Duke, and Bucky Waters was one of the assistants, and Vic Bubas was the head coach. That's my only plane trip in my life until I started playing at Kentucky.
UK began recruiting Mike during his sophomore season at Meadowdale. Pratt was definitely drawn to the fast-break running style of the Kentucky Wildcats. As a high school senior, he admired the crisp passing and all-around good shooting of the national runner-up Rupp's Runts team.
But it got down to I thought I wanted to go away from home. But I wanted to be close enough where I could hitchhike home or jump on a bus or something. And that's how I got to Kentucky. Joe Hall did a terrific job. He was the recruiter. You played for him. You know him in a different light maybe than I do. But Joe was an amazing recruiter. And first guy that contacted me for Kentucky was my sophomore year. A fellow by the name of Neil Reed, who actually recruited Dampier and Clevenger and much of those Indiana guys. And then about a year later, Joe started recruiting me.
Mike signed with the Cats and entered UK in the fall of 1966. He quickly adapted to the Kentucky style of play. Pratt averaged just over 20 points per game on the freshman squad, led the team in assists, and could have easily helped the UK team out at the varsity level if only freshmen would have been eligible to play at that time.
That's the way it went then. I mean, what are you going to do? That was the rule. I never thought anything about it, to be honest with you. Matter of fact, Joe recruited off Rupp's Runts. That was a terrific team to watch and so much fun to watch. And the whole country was enamored with them in many, many ways. You knew you came in as a freshman that you were going to play a 20-game schedule. And it was like maybe, you had your own little world as a freshman. And we had 13 guys, I think, come in on scholarship that year. There were unlimited scholarships at that time.
As a freshman, Pratt watched the 1967 Kentucky squad, led by seniors Pat Riley and Louis Dampier, struggle to a 13-13 record. Mike spent his first year in the Kentucky program waiting and preparing himself to make an immediate impact on the varsity team the following year.
But we would go to study hall at 3 o'clock, or maybe earlier for some, and then we would come watch the last 45 minutes of the varsity practice, sit in the bleachers there on the floor in the old Coliseum in our practice outfits and watch the varsity. And that was a learning process. You were expected to watch and learn, and because we ran the same things. And I always found it interesting because I don't know if they planned it this way or not. Learning, yes, the drills, the intensity, but it also gave you a great opportunity to size up your competition the next year.
We'll be right back with more of my conversation with Mike Pratt after these words from our sponsors.
It's pizza that's made to order, the way we like it. And their wings and their wing bites taste great. Hey, save me some. Oh, that's good. Oh, that's great.
Practice your shot in our indoor, temperature-controlled shooting range, or work with one of our experts to choose the right firearm for your next outdoor experience. Bud's Gun Shop and Range. Find it here.
To start the 67-68 season, super sophomores Mike Pratt, Mike Casey, and Dan Issel worked their way into the Kentucky starting lineup. Veterans Jim LeMaster, Steve Clevenger, Cliff Berger, and Tommy Porter actually received less playing time during that year, but as Mike explains, this group of seniors accepted their roles and were instrumental in the Cats' overall team success.
Once it was established that we were going to play, those guys didn't push back against that. I mean, they pushed back in practice, which they should have. They weren't willing to give in, Mace, but they once it was established that we were playing and we could win, we all could win that way, they really gave us a lot of leadership.
The Cats averaged over 88 points per game in the 67-68 season, and it was the three sophomores who led the team in scoring. Mike Casey averaged 20 points per game, Dan Issel 16, and Mike Pratt averaged 14 points per game. The Southeastern Conference was extremely strong during that 68 season, and as many as 4 SEC schools were ranked in the top 10 at different points of the year.
Now, the league was really good. Now, Florida had Neil Walker pro, Andy Owens a pro. Tennessee had the team basically back who won the championship the year before, the league championship. And Vandy was loaded. Tommy Hagan, Bo Wynett, these guys were loaded. And we weren't picked to win the SEC nor in the top 25. Once we got rolling, we had some bumps in the road, but once we got rolling, we had a very nice combination, very nice.
The Cats won their last 11 games of the regular season and did capture the Southeastern Conference title in 1968. Mike talks about the middle season loss at Tennessee that helped the Cats refocus their efforts and finish the season out strong.
Tennessee was in first. We had fallen out of first. We had been beaten at Florida. We rolled in there on Monday night and got drilled. Oranges thrown at us, football team behind the bench cursing us, and we got beat by 23. The worst loss, I think it was 23, that Adolph had had in I don't know how long. Okay. We went on a run after that. We thought we could win it all along. It was one winner, and at that time, my sophomore year, nobody went to the NIT. It was just one, pack your bags, go home. So we made that run, and we won some close games, got a lot of confidence. And then it was great coming together. I credit those seniors a lot.
The Cats finished the regular season 21-4, SEC champs, and ranked 4th in the country. In the first round of the NCAA tournament, Kentucky blew out a good Marquette team 107-89 in Memorial Coliseum. Then the Cats suffered a heartbreaking 82-81 loss to Ohio State on a last-second shot in a game that would have sent Kentucky to the Final Four.
I can still see the late Dave Sorensen shooting that shot. Dennis Metters, a guy from outside of Dayton, I knew a lot of those guys. Drove down the middle. I think Case hit it, deflected the ball off, out of bounds, and there was like 1 second on the clock. 2 seconds at the most, 1-2 seconds. So we called timeout, and there was the discussion in the huddle whether we go man or zone, out of bounds, under the basket. We're up 80-79. So we went zone, and we forced them to throw the ball to just outside the elbow area. Sorensen caught it, shot it, banked it in.
With the disappointing loss to Ohio State, Kentucky fell 1 game short of advancing to the Final Four in Los Angeles, California. But with Issel, Pratt, and Casey returning for their junior years, Kentucky's outlook for the following season appeared very promising.
Once Issel became a load in there, man, you were silly not to throw it in, and Coach Rupp would make sure that you knew that. Look, we had a good year. At my size, 6'3", I enjoyed rebounding, and I enjoyed that part of it. So I looked at it and I said, I had to fight to get the starting spot. I came on, played well. I was happy. I was looking forward to the next year.
We'll be right back with more of my conversation with Mike Pratt after these words from our sponsors.
Kentucky Farm Bureau Insurance. Big on commitment.
Fueling Kentucky. Fueling America. Fueling growth. Friends of coal.
As Mike Pratt started his junior season, the expectations for the Cats were again very high. When the first polls came out for the 68-69 season, Kentucky was ranked third in the country and remained in the top 10 for the entire season.
What happened to that team, we're playing right along. We're in the top 10, 5, 6, whatever we were, 7. Coach Rupp's foot blew up on him. He was diabetic, and he had the gout. And Shive died, the AD, and Harry became full-time AD. And the balance on that coaching staff, and your experience coaching, was this way. Harry and Adolph liked to play good cop, bad cop, okay? And honestly, Harry was a bad cop, and he was a hard-nosed guy, man. So he goes to be AD, and he'd come around to practice. He was still assistant, but he wasn't there. Joe was on the road. Adolph had his foot up for about the last month and a half of season.
Kentucky entered the regular season 23-3 and was crowned the Southeastern Conference champs for the second consecutive year. The first-round NCAA tournament opponent for the Cats would once again be Al McGuire and his Marquette Golden Eagles. This time, however, the game would be played in Madison, Wisconsin.
And when you went to Madison, one of the key, if you study history, Madison was one of those places where the SDS, which is a big group in the 60s, on campuses, the Students' Democratic Society, they were against the war. They marched, they protested. And so here we come without any African-American players to a place like that, and with the war going on. And it was a very, very difficult place to go into. And we didn't have that edge. We had lost our edge. Our edge was being pushed by Harry. Joe was recruiting all the time, so and Adolph was sick, and I think we lost our edge. And we got beat, we got upset.
The Wildcats lost 81-74 to Marquette and were eliminated from the NCAA tournament field. The early departure from the national title chase strengthened the resolve of the returning Kentucky squad and left them determined to return the Cats to national prominence.
Yeah, they had a great freshman recruiting class. I mean, some terrific players. Stan Key, Mark Soderberg, Randy Knoll. Ken Hollenbeck was on that team. He was the other freshman. They were terrific. And we thought we were going to have some depth, and Issel, Casey, and myself were back, Larry Steele. I mean, we were set up to go pretty good at that point in time. A lot of experience, some really good athleticism, and some depth.
All the preseason polls had the 69-70 Wildcats ranked number 1 in the country. First-team All-SEC performers Pratt and Casey returned, Issel, an All-SEC selection as well as an All-American, returned, and another run at the national championship looked promising. Then, over the summer, misfortune struck the Kentucky program.
While he was in the hospital, I drove down from Dayton on a Saturday to see him. I was working, but I drove down to see him, which was a long drive back then. And he was lying there in bed and had the leg up in a big cast, and quite sad because I really thought with the combination we had, we were set to make a serious run. Alcindor was gone, who's now Jabbar from UCLA. They had a really good team, but he was a difference maker, and that was pre-Walton and all that stuff. So I mean, I thought we were set and ready to go.
Without senior Mike Casey in the lineup, juniors Terry Mills and Larry Steele, along with sophomore Tom Parker, worked hard to fill the void. Kentucky pulled together and mounted an impressive 25-1 regular season record, and for the third consecutive year, claimed the SEC championship.
The roles were still the same. I had to rebound, I had to pass. I think I led the team in assists again that year. there may have been more scoring opportunities. But as the season progressed, we got a lot of help from guys. Steele had a terrific corner jump shot. Terry Mills hit some shots. I'll tell you who really played well, Mace, was Stan Key. Yeah. Stan Key really played well. Stan was a sophomore, got thrust into this position, and he really played well.
We'll return with more of my conversation with Mike Pratt after these words from our sponsors.
Fresh, tasty, savory double dogs. In a single word, delicious.
We are the hospital to meet the healthcare needs of the Commonwealth. The best in Kentucky, the best for Kentucky. UK Healthcare, the power of advanced medicine.
Kentucky defeated 9th-ranked Notre Dame 109-99 in the first round of the NCAA tournament held in Columbus, Ohio. The win set up the much-anticipated matchup with 4th-ranked Jacksonville University and their 7-foot All-American center, Artis Gilmore.
You know, these 2 7-footers on one team, particularly one as good as the A-Train. I mean, he was special. In Rex Morgan at 6'5", swing player. But if you look at the ball game, Issel, Steele, and I all foul out between 10, 11-minute mark and the 7-minute mark. Steele being the last one, I believe. So you carve out those 3 guys, which were 3 leading scorers. The sophomore class in particular led that team back into that ball game, kept them in until the end. Jacksonville had to make some foul shots, and they pulled away. But the group of Knoll, Soderberg, Parker, Hollenbeck, Terry Mills.
That 106-100 loss to Jacksonville still rates as one of the most devastating losses in Kentucky basketball history. For Mike Pratt, it was his last game as a Kentucky Wildcat. I spoke with Mike about the man he played 3 years for while wearing the Kentucky uniform, Coach Adolph Rupp.
Tough, hard-nosed old German. And, but saying that, he cared about his players. He loved to talk about, when I was there, the guys that were lawyers, doctors, and teachers. He didn't go on and on about the guys, Hagan, Ramsey, Sharapos, guys who had before us had played in the pros. He didn't go on about Riley or Dampier, who were in it at the time. He was very big about the academic piece, and he was very much into, he'd have guys back, guys would come back, and he'd bring them out and introduce them. Now he's a minister, or he's a coach, high school coach, or he's a doctor, he's a lawyer. He was really big on that, and I think that's something that's missed about him.
I asked Mike if he had any specific memories of how Coach Rupp addressed the team in the huddle during a timeout.
He calls timeout. He never sat down. He stood up because he was older. So we're all gathered around, and Issel's behind him, and guys, and Casey and I were kind of over here in this part of the huddle, you know, and he's talking. And he looked at Casey and I, he said, "Do you boys know who this boy is?" Points like this to Issel. We're all going, uh-oh, we got some problems here. And he says, "His name is Dan Issel. Please pass him the ball." And he's looking right at Casey and I. You know, we're wanting to laugh, okay? We're wanting to laugh. We're just, okay, coach, okay. So we break the huddle and go out. Iss comes by and pats me on the butt. Nods, like that. So we went down and passed him the ball quite a few times. Then we went back to shooting.
I also asked Mike to share his thoughts on teammate and Kentucky All-American Dan Issel.
Dan was so good. He would be a stretch four today in this world. He could do that. I believe he could do that. Such a good offensive player, such a strong rebounder, such a tough guy when he played. I mean, he really was a tough guy. He invited the contact. He wanted to get to the charity stripe. Big-time competitor. Again, a very special teammate.
Mike and I then discussed his relationship with Kentucky teammate and three-time All-SEC performer Mike Casey.
Casey and I were extremely close and miss him dearly. Great basketball IQ, great competitor, terrific nose for the ball, wonderful teammate, all about winning.
While Mike Pratt was at Kentucky, the Wildcats compiled an overall team record of 71 wins against only 12 losses. UK competed in the NCAA tournament all 3 years of Mike's varsity eligibility. His memories of his time at Kentucky are all fond ones.
The two things I think I can remember the most, I had a lot of great thrills and great teammates, but 3 straight SEC championships. That's why I came to Kentucky, to try to play for a national championship. In those days, you had to win the league. So we won 3 straight. And baby, it was a grind. You played everybody twice, home and away. And we'd go to Mississippi for a weekend, and I thought I'd been there a year. This was a tough league, man. But those 3 championships, in 66, Kentucky wins. Tennessee wins in 67. Now we win 3 straight, and then 2 more after that, 5 straight until Tennessee ties, I believe, in the 6th year. 5 straight SEC. We were part of 3, and I really appreciate that.
After his playing days at Kentucky, Mike played 2 seasons in the ABA with the Kentucky Colonels. He then spent time as an assistant coach at UNC Charlotte before taking on the head coaching role, where he compiled a 56-52 record over his 4 seasons with the Rams. Mike has spent the past 13 seasons providing color commentary on Kentucky game broadcast while sitting alongside the voice of the Kentucky Wildcats, Tom Leach. Mike Pratt has been a part of the Big Blue Nation for many years. I asked Mike how he would like to be remembered by the Big Blue faithful.
I think I would appreciate people remembering me as a guy that came to Kentucky and got the most out of his time and got the most benefits that he could possibly get from those times ongoing throughout his life, and somebody that really cares deeply about the university.
Mike Pratt was a 2-time All-SEC performer at the University of Kentucky. He was selected to the Converse All-American team at the end of his senior year and was also named to the Academic All-American team. He was selected into the University of Kentucky Athletics Hall of Fame in 2009, and in 2010, Mike was inducted into the State of Kentucky Athletics Hall of Fame. Mike Pratt is one of only a handful of players at the University of Kentucky to rank in the top 30 on the all-time career list of points scored, rebounds, and assists. The gutty Ohio native from Meadowdale will always be remembered by Kentucky fans as the blue-collar workhorse of Rupp's top-rated teams in the late 1960s. Thanks for joining us, everybody. Until next time, when we hear more tales from the Rafters of Rupp.
From the Rafters of Rupp was brought to you by UK Healthcare, Bud's Gun Shop, Double Dogs, Friends of Coal, Hunt Brothers Pizza, Kentucky Farm Bureau, and by Rafferty's.